Hi everyone, it's Joe, and I have David here. He has just experienced something that sounded really fun and really cool, and so he's finally back from it. So, welcome back, David. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, thank you. Feeling very calm, refreshed, and yeah, nice.
So, tell us all what you did.
I went on a 10-day silent meditation retreat, which is known as Vipassana, and it's an ancient meditation technique that was taught by Buddha 2,500 years ago when he was around. And yeah, you're in this. I guess you go on site in a secluded property, and there's no talking, no interaction with people for the 10 days that you're there. And throughout the 10 days, you're learning this technique and being guided by an Indian gentleman who kind of set up the whole Vipassana trust and the way that it's set up in delivering the teaching. And yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the 10 days of just silence and self-reflection was really what appealed to me. I didn't actually realize that we'd be learning a technique. I thought Vipassana was just the name of the center, but it turns out that, yeah, there's an actual technique, which is like a body scan meditation, basically. And yeah, it's just very powerful, very, very powerful. I experienced a lot of internal shifts and awareness, like things coming into my awareness. And there were times when I felt like I actually didn't have a mind anymore. I was just looking through my eyes and observing without any real thoughts or opinions about what was in front of me, which was beautiful. But then there were other days when the mind just comes back like a fire, and then you think, oh, okay, like, it takes more than 10 days to kind of to get to a stage where you can really have that quiet mind. But I suppose the foundation of the training is it's all about equanimity and being able to, you know, deal with your surroundings with an equanimous mind, and you do that by learning how to deal equanimously with anything that arises in your body first. And so, you as you're sitting meditating, um, you'll experience a bit of pain here and there in your body, or you might experience a little twitch or an itch or whatever sensation that arrives in your body. And the teaching is to observe that without any craving or without any aversion, so you can just deal with it as it is. And then as you cultivate that practice and get more and more astute at that you would be able to then deal with situations that arise in your life, that are unexpected, and still maintain that equanimous mind. And so yeah, it's a really beautiful, simple technique. As I said, it's just a body scan meditation, but just really learning to listen to the body and experience different sensations around the body, and allow them rather than trying to avert from them or crave the ones that feel nice. It's an interesting practice, and I had some really profound energetic experiences in my body. I was able to feel a lot of movement, and there were times when it feels like you can almost feel every single atom spinning around in the body. And so you get to kind of experience the truth within, which is what I guess what we talk about a lot is, in order to know truth, you have to go within, and this gives you that. It's like a lot of the stuff that I already know about the way the body works and about the way we are structured energetically, I already had in my mind, but until I could feel it energetically through the meditation practice, it wasn't something I'd fully integrated, I guess. And so then when you get that, you can then go off into experiencing more truth about you and your path and where you're at, and the things that have stopped you, and all that. So it's a beautiful tool for self-inquiry, and yeah, I'd recommend it to anybody.
Very cool that you are still trying to work on you and improve on you. And 10 days is a huge chunk of anyone's sort of year. And as you said, you knew all of this stuff intellectually, but to actually stop and work on it at a practical level and actually get that sense of what you already knew intellectually, I mean, very clever. I think that's, such a beautiful gift to give yourself is, actually doing that.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, the first day that we sat Vipassana, because the first 3 days you're just learning to focus the breath around the nose, so that your mind becomes able to focus on a small portion of your body. And so for the first 3 days you're just doing that, and then on the fourth day you actually get into the Vipassana technique. And we it was a 2-hour meditation sitting, and the tape that was running with Mr. Goenka's voice was guiding us through the meditation. And towards the end, when I was right down at my toes, I could I could see all my body in light. I had my eyes closed, but I could see all my limbs, and I could see light coming in and going out of me. And after the meditation finished, I was very emotional, because I kind of just had this realization that, this is what a lot of the spiritual masters and teachers over the ages have been trying to teach us about our energetic component, the way that we're made up of energy, and how we can channel direct energy based on our awareness, based on our consciousness. And I really felt that. And so, as I said, it's about actually experiencing that truth, that I am just an energetic being. I'm just a bunch of atoms spinning around together. It really opens up your awareness to, well, what does that mean about the way my body works, and how can I direct my awareness around my body to kind of facilitate healing, for example. Because for example, in my body, I had an injured right knee for quite a while, and during the meditation, I noticed that as I was focusing energy on my right leg, I couldn't seem to get past my right knee. I could feel the energy moving down my thigh; it would get to my knee, but then I wouldn't be able to get any feeling down further into my lower half of my leg. And so I decided to focus on the knee. And I spent about 2 hours just meditating with my attention focused on my knee. And at first I couldn't feel anything. And then after about an hour, I could feel some twitching, some tingling in the knee. And then eventually some pain arose. And again, as I mentioned before, I was just looking at this all without any attachment or aversion or anything. I was just observing it. And I've been doing that ever since. And I'm noticing that my leg is actually healing now. It's actually, it's regaining its flexibility, and the pain that was there before is subsiding. So I'm just going to keep at it. And I really believe that I'm going to be able to fix the knee with this technique.
Can you remind me, in your session that we did together, what your subconscious said about your knee and why you'd injured it?
It's about my obsession with the future, basically. That I send a lot of myself, if you think of it energetically, I send a lot of my energy into the future, because I'm always thinking about what's going to happen next, or where I'm going to be. So I'm always trying to step into the future, basically, if you think of it that way. And so the way I reconcile this now, having done that course, is that literally I am sending particles of energy from my knee away from me, because I want to be living elsewhere. And so that's one of the reasons that it's created density, and there's not a lot of life force, I suppose, running through that part of my body. And that's why it had a sustained injury, because it wasn't as living in as much vitality as it could be. And so I think that the way I'm theorizing now is that as I'm living in more presence with my body, that I'm actually able to cultivate more energy through this part of my anatomy, and that's what's helping it heal.
Love that. How cool. I mean, seriously, How cool would that be to experience that? And you're so right. As you know, we heal our own bodies by setting the intentions and working out what the actual message is for the body that is trying to get our attention, to let us know what our mindsets are doing, and our belief systems are doing to our bodies, and all that jazz. But it's very cool. Very, very, very cool. And so what happened next after was it the third day after you were focusing on your knee for 2 hours? What?
Yeah, so it would just the fourth day was when we first did the Vipassana technique, and then I think the knee came in probably on day 6, where I really started to focus on the knee. But to be honest with you, there were days when I felt my pineal gland was bigger than my brain, because it was just so much in that energetic state all the time of meditation and focusing my attention within, that I just felt like, I actually spoke to the teacher a couple of times, because I said, I feel like I've been plugged into the wall here, like I'm like a light bulb. And he's like, oh yeah, I feel that too. And you know, so for me it was very easy to kind of and I guess it's because I've had a lot of practice in my own meditation techniques as well. But I found that really feeling the body and experiencing just micro, and just even like focusing on the little toe for a moment, just to see what's going on there, you know, and really focusing the mind's. It helps you realize, I guess, how busy your mind gets with thinking about stuff, you know, because you're trying to focus on a part of your body, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about something from yesterday or tomorrow, and you kind of have to remind yourself to come back to the present moment. And so the more you do this practice over the 10 days, the mind gets quieter, and you're literally just listening to the body, you know. But one thing that I definitely learned though is that it's not to say that at the end of the 10 days you're going to be this monk who just never has any thoughts or feeling. You know, you kind of have to come back into your reality and then try and cultivate that awareness as you're living through your normal life then. And that was interesting for me, because I came back with a bit of a cold. I've still got a bit of congestion now actually, but my body was again taking an opportunity to purge while I was in stillness. So I came back and I had a lot of congestion in my head, which made presence difficult, because I wanted to avoid that, obviously. Yeah, I've had a few conversations with people that have gone differently to how they normally would have gone. Let's say, like, you know, the mind isn't as quick to challenge or deny or whatever. You know, it's easier to kind of. I suppose I'm finding it a lot easier to be quiet now. You know, I'm finding the virtue in silence. I suppose it's sometimes just saying nothing is the most powerful thing you can do, and I'm realizing that more and more.
Mm. Well, we've been told in sessions that we need to prepare ourselves to support people with words. And so, yes, so interesting how we need to find that balance. It seems like after this 10 days, you had this deeper sense and appreciation of what true inner peace is like. And I got a sense that we distract ourselves with so much to almost avoid that calmness and stillness. I'm definitely noticing that there is this beautiful calmness and stillness within myself. Hopefully I'm just channeling you. But it is almost like there is this absence, this interesting lack of pressure that I have been feeling, which has been so nice. I don't know. There's been so much pressure from our teams and collectives to be doing certain things, which have always motivated me to be of service. So interesting. Sorry, I don't know why I'm like sharing myself here, but do you meditate? Like, what does a day, like what does a daily self routine for David look like?
Yeah, I do meditate every day. I actually, at the moment, I wake up about 5 o'clock and I meditate for an hour, and I do the Vipassana technique now. I've actually switched my technique to the Vipassana technique. So I meditate for an hour when I wake up, and then take my dog out, come home, meditate for another couple of hours, and then my day just kind of organically happens, and then I usually meditate for an hour or two before I go to bed. So there's definitely a good chunk of meditation in there, and it's not I'm not doing that as a way to kind of escape anything or settle my crazy mind. I'm just doing it to kind of keep up a practice of stillness, you know, because what I definitely have seen benefits in my life from doing that. You know, as I said, being able to cultivate stillness in an intentional way like that means that when something comes up that's unexpected, it's much easier to hold that inner peace. And you were right in what you were saying. We do need to support people with words, and I wasn't saying that we shouldn't be doing that. I just mean that what I'm learning more and more is that there are times when I don't need to speak, when my opinion is not asked for or required, and it's just about, you know, and all the words that I'm choosing, am I saying them to challenge or to just get my point across versus supporting. So that's really what I meant, like choosing words more consciously so that I'm actually supporting life rather than blocking. And but yeah, so that practice, it's always been a good practice for me. And you know, a lot of people don't like meditation, and that's fine. Everyone's got their own practice, but for me, it's been a very beautiful tool for just bringing some calmness and stillness to the mind. Because, as you said, you know, we actually don't realize how much the mind is always going, and until we can find that place where it's not, you know, it's like, whoa, God, my mind is talking a lot, you know. And the funny thing about the mind is it's always talking about yesterday or tomorrow, the past or the future. It's never just living in the moment. And so when you're in the moment, the mind is a lot quieter.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, I was just speaking to a beautiful woman today, and she was just driving her car and getting downloads from God or Source. I can't remember what the name she uses for that reference. And you know, she sort of asked me, why is it that I get more information when I'm driving, say, than when she is meditating and asking for her team to give her information? And I think there's for her personally, the way that she truly meditates and kind of can sink into a not a trance, but there is something I could pick up. It's the sound of the tires on the road and the visuals of moving forward and being open to new destinations or new information. There was something about driving for her that puts her in a beautiful meditative state to be able to have more connectivity, which I thought was very cool. I know people that actively run, like, you know, seriously, not just like half running, like pathetic running like I do, where it's kind of like a jog but looks like I'm having okay, sorry. There actually is real people who I know who run and meditate at the same time and can be really profoundly connected in. And so but for you, when you're doing now this new routine that you're learning, so tell me, what did you used to do when you were meditating, and what do you do now with this new technique?
Well, I used to be honest, my meditation techniques before that were a bit. I like to dip my toes in a few different techniques. To be honest, I mean, there's so many different ways to meditate, and I know you've just explored a couple of more, you know, physical ones there, really. And you're so right, because some people chant, you know, and that helps them, and all sorts of singing and all sorts of stuff. So some people use crystals. There've been times when I've sat and I've laid with a piece of crystal on my third eye, just to kind of get that going. But other times I've created an image in my mind of something that I consider holy or sacred, or I've thought of the name of someone that I consider holy or sacred, or I just be in stillness and silence, and say, you know. And it's funny because you always kind of get, I find I get different results depending on what I do. You know, like sometimes it's more visual, like I get more visual stimulation if I'm thinking about certain things, or other times it's just blackness. And so I suppose I'm starting to really appreciate the void a lot more, like the complete stillness and darkness that you can get into in meditation. And so with Vipassana, I think the reason that I've decided, for me, it's what I want to do as my regular practice now, is because I do recognize the wisdom contained in the body, you know, and that this is the vessel that we've been given to experience this life. And so everything that we, you know, it's like every time you have an aversion or a craving to something in life, or a moment when you feel uncomfortable or whatever, that the reaction to that is locked into your cells, into your biology. And so, as we've talked about before, you know, certain organs potentially hold certain vibrations that go with certain emotions and certain feelings, or whatever. And so if you run the same story over and over and over again, you have the same chemical reaction in your body every time you think about a certain thing, then it's going to potentially lock itself into a particular organ. And so if you're focusing on that place in meditation, and you start to notice pain coming up, and twinging and tickling and all that, what I'm saying, or what I believe to be true based on the training I've done now, is that those sensations are the mental attachments that have been created through these emotions that we've been locking into our anatomy. And so as you are allowing these things to arise but not reacting to them, you are then breaking that cycle almost of locking that density into the system. And so it releases the density from that part of the body, and that's, in my mind, how it creates the healing as well. Because like my knee, for example, full of density and has an injury, and then now I'm cultivating a lot more higher vibration into that area, and so it's releasing that density from that part of my body, and that creates obviously the space for it to heal. So for me, that it's almost like a daily practice of releasing yourself from all the reactions that you've had to your day, if that makes sense.
So many things I want to add to this. Rewinding back, when you started talking about how sometimes you can put a crystal on your forehead, or whatever or you think of someone that is of significance, or yes. I think, just for shits and giggles, if you valued a lipstick, or if you valued, I'm just looking at what I've got here. I've got like a hair tie. I've got like a chapstick, like if I believed that hair tie kept my shit all together, because it does, like sometimes I don't brush my hair for quite a few days, like if I put value on certain items and believe that they would help me, guide me, protect me, give me profound wisdom, keep my crap together, whatever I fully believe in and trust, and then wear or use, because I'm putting that mindset in it, then it's going to work instantly. I'm going to have total faith that hair tie is going to keep my shit together. And if I wanted to connect in and have that clarity, or a great meditation or connection to my team, if I then placed significance on that hair tie to be the tie between my mind and my team's mind, and I believe that this is the tool that will do this for me, fantastic. But we all know that our bodies are the tie. Our bodies are the tools that we can use to be able to raise our vibrations, to have that connectivity. But there's nothing wrong with having these tools and these belief systems of other things if we want to. But if you're going to have crystals, fully believe in the power of the crystals, and you can say to yourself whatever you want to believe that crystal can do, for it to actually do what you're wanting it to do. I would always recommend using yourself as the tool, believing in yourself enough that it is more advanced, more superpowers, will always keep your shit together yourself, rather than having these aids. But that's a big step for some people, because they would rather see an external something and have trust and faith in that more than themselves. So it's always good to be able to see what you actually are putting your faith and trust in. Is it actually you, or do you believe that little trinkets or certain things, or other people, or other deities, or other special, unicorn people, baby Jesus, whatever? Of course, they're always going to help you. Of course, having a significance and an importance of something will help you, because you're allowing it to help you because of your belief system. But I think your teams are really wanting us to all be empowering ourselves to be able to boost it up. And then the next thing I wanted to say was affirmations. And Louise Hay came in and she was like, oh, my book's still really good. So if you read those, oh, I've got a sore knee, what would her statement be? I'm guessing it's something like, I have flexibility to move forward, and I love and ease and grace, whatever. So there are so many tools for us to be able to identify what's actually going on with our bodies. If we don't want to trust what our intuition is saying, why we've got certain things happening in our bodies. Not everyone can have quantum sessions where the subconscious will tell on you and say it's because of their belief systems that they're not worthy, or they're too much in the future, or they're too much in the past, or whatever. We can do all of this ourselves without having any tools, even these quantum sessions, to be able to figure out what's actually our bodies are saying to us, which is always a representation of either our hurts emotionally, we always think, that knee must have been a hurt thing, right, David? You remember the thing where you ripped the muscle because you're like, I overextended it. But that was the breaking point for your body, because your subconscious and your team were like, we're either going to smack his bottom or we're going to rip a ligament in his knee. And I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I think that everything, to me, I look at everything in my life as a reflection of where I'm at. I try to cultivate a good practice of self-reflection as part of my day as well, because because there's messages all around, and your body is one of the biggest messengers you've got to kind of explain to you what's going on. And I think you're right. You're so right in what you're saying, and I think that's one of the reasons that I'm keen to just continue with this practice now, because it's about me and my body. And I think that look, yeah, like you said, I think things are great, like crystals and deities and all that. And when I, like when I, if I ever thought about a particular influential person, I would think about Jesus Christ, for example, but not because I want to, not because I think that he is my savior, but because there are qualities in his life that I would like to cultivate with myself. I want more courage. I want more faith. I want more, I want to cultivate those qualities in me, not because I want him to do it for me. And so I think it's, yeah, like you're saying, it's important that we remember that we are the vessels of our own. We get to decide for ourselves.
He's such a
And
good role model, isn't he? Like, I,
yeah,
I think I've said this publicly. I really didn't, I sort of thought he was just a little cheesy icon that you kind of, you know, I had no true respect for him, and I didn't really understand his significance
yeah,
until I was doing this work and called him in.
yeah,
And, like, it's strange. I don't even know. Like, there was a point in my life, David, where I didn't even know if he was a true man. I thought maybe he might have just been a myth.
yeah. I
Like,
agree.
I didn't even know what to believe. I think I was at that phase where I just felt like everything is lies around me, and I don't know,
Yeah,
what's my name? I don't even identify with that, like,
yeah. That's
interesting times. Yeah. Um, well, yes. I mean, I think we're making our points, whatever works for us.
yeah,
And I think if we have doubt, oh, I don't know if this is the right crystal. There was 17,000 other crystals in that store. Did I choose the right one? Oh, I probably didn't, because I just don't know what these crystals do. Like, I remember also being that person, like, do I buy all of them or just one of them? And is this the best one? And how do I know? I don't know. And I'd go to the counter guy and I would be like, is this a good one? And he would look at me like, well, you will know that. And I'm like, how? There's no instructions on this piece of crystal. It's kind of shiny. It doesn't give me joy, but I like the prettiness of it. And I've just read the description in all of the books that you're trying to sell me as well about the properties of these. I'll have to just sort of trust, but I didn't intuitively know what these crystals would do. And then I ended up just buying heaps of them, thinking, okay, I think I've covered them all. I think I've got one of each in the store. I'm good. And I just kind of just trusted that I was covered in the crystal realm. That's how I used to work with spirituality. I'll just buy everything and hope
mm,
that I'm all good.
yeah, yeah. I think that I was the same, to be honest. I didn't really know where to look, but as time's gone on, I've felt more intuitively into it. And the last thing I bought crystal wise was a piece of moldavite, which is a very powerful crystal. And I actually didn't know anything about it. I overheard someone speaking about it in a shop, and I went, "What did you say? What did you say?" And I got really like into it. I was like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And they were like, "Oh, moldavite." And I was like, "What is it? What is it?" And something in me was really eager to hear about this word moldavite. And so I just took that as inspiration that maybe I should get a piece. So I got a piece, and it has been, I have been able to feel the vibration of it and experience something from that. But I like you were saying, and I want to make it clear, I don't actually put my life in the hands of this Peter Moldavite. I understand that, oh, it's a nice thing to have, but I've still got to continue to excavate the self through reflection practices and in my case meditation, where I go into the body and have a snoop around and see what my body's telling me today. So yeah, but beautiful, because some people Some
It's
people really.
almost like you've just confessed you're a self pervert, just going in, checking yourself out. Where is the
Yeah,
boundaries?
yeah. I have no internal boundaries for myself. Uh, but yeah, I mean, that to me, like that's where it's at. That's really where the truth really is. And I think what we just mentioned Jesus before. He said, "I am the way, I am the light, I am the truth." But what I think he was really saying there is, I am meaning you are. We all are. We all are our own way. We all are our own light, and we all are our own truth. And the only way that we can find what that is by looking at the self constantly, and how that plays a part in your experience. And so, because you know, I've got a beautiful painting of Jesus on my wall, but it's not because I hope that one day it's going to come to life and he's going to come and take me up to the heavens. It's because I'm inspired by his message. And you know, my devotion to Jesus is not blind. It's not, oh well, I just think he was great, but I'm not going to do any of that myself. I really use him and his image as an inspiration to find more compassion and kindness and forgiveness in my life for others, because I really feel that that's how we get back to this understanding of unity. And you know, so it's not just oh, this man was great, I'm going to idolize him like a pop star. It's, I really actually honor his life path, and I hope to cultivate some of those faculties in my own.
Definitely a role model. I didn't get that. But now I do. And I have apologized to him, and I think we're okay. Even though he did call me out yesterday for being more judgmental than he is. And that's cool. You know,
Yeah,
like, I mean, what kind of ego would it be for someone to be like, oh, well, no, Jesus is more judgmental than I am. I'm basically an extra saint. He's just a mere Jesus. We were saying though yesterday that, and this is what has come out in sessions, is that whoever needs to see him when they're shifting, they will naturally see him, because they need that comfort that this is, you know, not going to hell, or, you know, they haven't died, or something. He's significant, he's got followers, he's loved and adored. And I think the true followers know who he really is, and they're not afraid of him. They know he is an all-loving being. But
yeah.
he's all cool. He's all cool. I like him now. I know
And
him now. I understand him now, and I can fully respect him now.
yeah.
Very, very well. One of the things we've been asked, I'm going to ask a few people this in future conscious mind conversations. You can say yay or nay. I'm not going to judge you much, not more than Jesus anyway, or maybe I will judge you more than Jesus, depending on the mood. But if someone experiences, if you're still here, I know this is talking about future stuff, and I know your subconscious could be like, shut up, we're not talking about future stuff with him. If someone, so moving forward, the laser event happens and people are coming to you with the shock of the news, and they're very triggered, scared. What would your advice be if you had any?
It's hard, isn't it? Because everyone's going to react in a different way to something like that, you know, there are people that are going to think there's some conspiracy. There are people going to think there's some second coming. There are people that are going to think there's some end of the world event or an alien attack. So there's going to be a lot of different narratives that come from an event like that. And I suppose, you know, you're managing the responses based on what they think is actually going on. But for me, in all the work that I do with my clients, and any of people in my life that are struggling with stuff in their life, I always direct them back to their self in the moment. You know, like, what's happening for you in this very moment, and how can we cultivate some balance right now, so that we can assess what's going on with balance, rather than just reacting without knowing the full picture. Because that's what we do. We always react based on at first glance. And so I think that for me, I always try and help people to try and get a bigger picture, so they can see a more perspective before having a rash, you know, oh, someone's told me that there's been a laser thing come down and it's tore through half the world, and oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, where's this information come from, first of all, and how do you know that this is the complete story? And where are you getting your information from, and how much faith do you put in that? And how is it actually? Yeah, as I said, it depends on what the actual event is, because everyone's going to react differently to different scenarios.
So if someone's messaging you saying, or even calling you, or coming to your door, and they're in panic and fear and shock because they've heard on the news that we're under attack by extraterrestrials, where would you go with that?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Wow. It's an interesting question.
Would you not see their reactions that are in the emotional range, so you would not be able to try and identify what their emotions are, and be able to support that, versus the whole conversation about the actual aliens and the event itself? Would you want to recognize and support their emotions?
Well, yeah, like I was saying before, that for me, it's about getting them. How can we find balance in this moment for you, regardless of what's going on out there, and looking at the emotions that are attached. Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it what is it? What is it? And where does it come from? And actually looking at that and managing that reaction versus the event that's supposed to be taking place, is managing the reaction to that.
So, because we really want to be so attentive to what they're saying to us that we won't be like, we'll prove it. Where did you hear the information from? Blah, blah, blah. It would be, really engaging with them about supporting, really honoring them and hearing them and seeing them and supporting them, regardless of the details of the actual. So we don't need to question, well, where did you hear that from? Is it a reliable source? We know it's bullshit. It's this, it's this. Like, it would be very tempting to kind of be like, I know, but it wouldn't be at the same time, because you're wanting to honor each individual person that comes to you with what they would perceive as a problem, or,
Yeah. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter what the story is. It matters how what the reaction is, because what they might be saying something that's just completely fabricated from their own perspective, let alone what the news is saying. But it's not about managing the event, because I can't manage the event. All I can do is help the person where they're at. And it's like you were saying then, like there've been times in my experience of awakening, let's say, where someone's come and told me something about what's going on in the world, and then I've tried to trump that by saying, well, yeah, but there's this also. And it's like, I don't need to flash my own pride in this moment and say, well, listen to me, I've got all this information for you. I just need to listen to them and try and work out what it is that's making them react in the way that it is, because a lot of the time it's fear. A lot of people are worried about their families, their jobs, their lifestyles, they're worried about holding on to everything being the same as it is now. And that's what really drives the reaction. It's not about the real story. It's more about their own survival. So again, coming back to them and trying to balance them versus, well, listen to this, I've got heaps of information for you about aliens, because
this is the perfect time to tell you about the crimes against humanity. Yeah. Well, and so yes, absolutely, I'm loving this direction. It feels very helpful and useful. What was I going to say? So they're going to be reacting in a whole range of emotions, because of the change, because of the fear. And while we have to support them and love them, we have to keep reminding them what they're afraid of and what their fear is. And ultimately, everyone has this. Well, most people have a fear of death, because there is a disconnection between living just one lifetime and having reincarnation. And, I feel like, when is that conversation? So when they are really upset and they're tearful and they're like, there was children involved and all those people, and are we vulnerable now? are we going to be, are we next, is probably what they are terrified and the fear of, because what could it, if it happened to those people, couldn't it easily just happen to them, because it will all be about them reacting to their vulnerabilities. I mean, I love humanity the best I can, but we're mostly selfish. So we're not really crying about the victims. We're crying about, what if it happened to me?
Yeah,
Which is, I mean, sorry to say.
We're crying because we don't want anything to change, basically.
Well, don't tell them about the new Earth, because
but that's fundamentally what it comes down to with our experience, and especially what's going on the planet right now. I think one of the reasons that a lot of people are finding it difficult is because they don't like change, and we've mentioned it before. This is why we see the child coming out in a lot of people, because it's the child that doesn't want us to grow up and move and change. And so, but we can't avoid change, and it's like picking that right moment to try and help people understand. Because if someone comes to your door and says, "Oh my God, there's aliens attacking, we're all going to die," it's not like I can just turn around and say, "Everything changes," you know. Because
can I just jump in here and say, would it be a fair statement to say that the child doesn't want change because the child still hasn't been acknowledged, loved, and healed? And so it doesn't want to be ignored even further, because change has already occurred, and it's been each year we get older, we forget about that child even more. And so therefore it's like, you know, when you have one child and then you have another one, the first child doesn't actually want to have competition. And I feel like each time we get older, we're adding more competition into that smaller version of ourselves when we're younger, because we're, you know, expanding so much more in our days. And so could it be that our inner child is still, you know, if you haven't done the inner work yet to love and heal and support that child for whatever they experienced, sorry, I just
well, the child is a big one that especially, I mean, I think most of the people that come to me as clients are running some big child story, and it's not. And don't get me wrong, I have a big child in me. I've got an eternal child as part of my archetypal council, and that I have to honor that, because I know it's not going to go away. Again, about the self-reflection and self-work is where you get to a point when you recognize, this is, I'm speaking, it's the child that's speaking in me now. It's the child that's stomping the feet and kicking and punching the fists in the air and saying, I don't want to change, I don't want to change. That's that part of me. And if I can see that, then I can stop it, you know. But some people don't recognize that in their own, they're not there yet where they can see the hamster wheel that they're running on. And it's not until you recognize it, you get off it and you can start to make more changes. But I acknowledge that I'm always going to be, I'm very silly. I'm a very silly person. I like to joke and laugh and speak in stupid voices and stuff. That's the child in me big time. But at the same time, I am aware of it enough that I can manage it and make sure that I can still have an adult conversation when the time is required, you know. So it's all about balance again.
David and I, we do the best we can, because I think that's how, you know, when we are being just our ordinary selves and being goofballs, we're allowing ourselves to just be that. But would it be fair to say, if the inner child is not wanting change, it's because much change was forced upon that inner child, so therefore it's a little bit stubborn? The child loves to do things when it has choices, to have the choices to do things on its own kind of accord. But even as adults, it is not wanting us to change, because it still feels like we are, you know, now we are parenting that inner child. Often it just needs love, and to be known that, you know, we see it, we honor it, we heal it, we protect it, we do all the things that that child was lacking or perceived to have a lack.
I think that lack of, that's where I go, because I think a lot of it comes down to feeling like I missed out on my childhood, and that's one of the reasons that I don't want to let it go, because I feel like I didn't get my childhood. You know, that's certainly how it went for me anyway. Like I had this feeling of, this fear of missing out has driven a lot of my choices in my earlier life, because I feel like I missed out as a child. And so because I didn't get the childhood that I thought I should have, it's like I've brought the child with me to continue trying to have that experience in my adult life. And so that came from a fear of missing out. So, but I think, look, there's many angles, because I'm looking at the wounded child, the eternal child, the magical child, the invisible child. There's so many different child patterns that we have, and it depends on what experiences you had as a child, I suppose. Some children are neglected, some children are given, some children are spoilt, and that also can bring the child in, because if you're told as a young person that you're very special, and that you deserve all the delights of the earth, the minute something happens to you in your adult life that doesn't go the way you expect, the child can quickly come out, because I thought I was special. I was told I was special. So there's always different avenues as to how that archetype can come into the playground, I guess.
I think you just probably explained to me why there are so many interesting influences out there in the world, because they definitely feel like they're pretty special unicorns. And that's cute. Like, but there is a fine balance between self-love and, that. There is, that's the extremes, I guess. But yes, I think a lot of people think, well, my childhood was, 2007, a long, long, long time ago. How could it possibly affect me? And it's the same as how so many people think, well, how come my other lifetimes can affect me? Because it's still part of us. We're still reacting from those experiences. And, it was really interesting what Jesus said yesterday, which was, all of these experiences that we're having in this lifetime, we may not actually learn from and be able to apply until future lifetimes, which I thought, well, there's no pressure, is there?
Yeah, and I think that's what that constant journey of self-excavation really is. And one of the reasons why I know this practice is going to be great for me is because it's about getting to the root of those reactions, because it's all about the reaction that's locking itself into your anatomy. And until you can get to that, understand what that reaction is, it's going to be hard for you to clear it. And so sometimes it's not going to be this lifetime that you figure out why you react a certain way. It's like you were talking about previously in a video about the guy with the dust and things. He's reacting in this life to something that is a result of a previous lifetime. And now he knows that he can break that connection, and perhaps it doesn't follow him anymore. But it could take a long time to actually get to the root of why I behave.
Yeah, but fun story about that, David. We all know about that story in his past, but he doesn't, because the client was actually his wife, and we got to hear it from that side. Bless her. I hope she's doing well with all of that. But because she has that insight now, and lots of my clients who have regressions, they have had many lifetimes with their certain friends and family, and husbands and children and wives and things. And so when you understand the significance of what you're wanting to learn from this lifetime, and if you've had other lifetime experiences with them where certain things have gone quite traumatically.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I was just talking to another practitioner yesterday, and she's had some fantastic sessions with her really dear close friends. And your friends really well, all their stories and their gossips and all that sort of stuff. And she was just blown away with what the information from the subconscious was, because she was like, I know my friend does not know this. And because of the trauma from other lifetimes, she's like, you can never judge anyone for anything, even if they're the most offensive, hurtful, narcissistic child in your face, as an adult. You still have to love them profoundly, because we can only see them as being reacting to hurts. And do we then see someone who's reacting to hurts and then give them our best, judgment and anger and reaction that matches it? I mean, yes, we have all done that in the past. Absolutely, we have. But now when we can consider other lifetimes, we can be so much more compassionate, because we just don't know what that person has gone through. And while they may be telling us to our faces, it's because you didn't do the dishes you know it's got something else going on behind it. And, that's how we have to keep our balance and neutral and not react to their own issues. So, God, and it always comes down to how their emotions are reacting to it. And, and we have to, it's like, to support and love them. There's a fine line as well, of course. This is such a challenging conversation we've got to now, because we want to be able to empower people, but not disempower them. We don't want to enable them. If we wanted to use a specific example that would be easier for us, not that it would be able to apply to everyone, but in terms of the wife with the husband who is quite passionate about dusting, he's afraid of the dust and what it could do because it killed him in one lifetime. To enable him, she could just ignore. Oh no, enabling him would be doing what he needs and never addressing it, and never offering him to do it with her, and for him to realize, hang on, empowering him to invite him to do the dusting, empowering him to know that it is important to her as well, and that she does respect his quirks with the dust. That would be empowering him. How would she be enabling him?
Enabling what? A reaction, you mean?
Well, enabling him to still be afraid of the dust.
Well, I mean, if she, I suppose if her reaction was, I don't give a shit, he's just gonna have to do it or put up with it, then it's not. It's like it's meeting him, isn't it, where he's at, and understanding there's something I can do to support him in this. I don't just need to give him cold turkey and leave the house full of dust, but I can invite him to take
Well,
part.
that would disempower him and trigger him even more if she was like, I'm not doing it, or lie to him that she's done it or something like that. So, yeah. But enabling him, I think, would be just doing it without having a conversation with him about, I see that this is really important to you. I want to support and honor you with this. Would you like to do it with me so you can see how thorough I am? And for him to be participating in this, because he's needing her to do it. Could we say that she could empower him by doing it himself?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the situation, but I mean, he's going to have to come to a point, I suppose, where he transcends his fear of dust. And how's that going to play out? I don't know, but obviously he's going to have to come to a point in his life where, or maybe not this life, maybe our life, where dust is not a problem anymore. So it's just, what are the circumstances that are going to arise that are going to cultivate that? And all she can do from her perspective is make sure that she isn't just going on some vendetta to make it really difficult for him, and that she can just find a way as best as possible to support him. She could suggest, maybe you would like to try dusting, and if that's too much for him, maybe you'd like to do it with me. And if that's too much, maybe she just accepts that it's a part of their relationship that she has to honor. Again, it all depends on the dynamics, but I would say that eventually he's going to have to transcend that fear of dust.
Yeah.
So
I think because it was such a growing fear. And I think, we know our loved ones and we know their little quirks. And while we may think, they're just really, this is their pet peeve, or this is what they're really passionate about, and this is their one thing, really think about applying what we know in these sessions, like, is it possible they could have died or been really disempowered in other lifetimes from it? We know that phobias start by, all sorts of things. We know, there's always significance to people's reactions, and it's not just a coincidence, and it's not just developed because I've seen something on TV potentially. So if we know someone who's got an interesting quirk, say like afraid of open water or afraid of heights, we could just sort of think, I wonder if, just for us thinking and caring about our friends and family, if this is part of a reaction from potentially another lifetime, And how would we support them with that? In this session with this client, with her husband who was afraid of the dust because of his death, they actually, his team sort of seemed to have gone in with him at that time to make him realize that he actually wasn't alone, because that was the most scariest thing for him. Was, yes, he was suffocating and being surrounded by the dust, but he was alone, and that was the trauma, not actually the dust. And
Yeah.
so it's about when you are drowning or when you are falling from big heights or something, because we've all had different types of deaths. If you've had different other physical lifetimes, what are the emotions from each individual death that will play? And that is the signs of the trauma that is still playing out in this lifetime. Be curious about your friends and family, and see if you could maybe, I don't know, guess what is their motivations and why they're reacting certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I guess, as we've discussed, we couldn't possibly know that all the threads of influence that make up a person's experience. I mean, it's infinite. So,
Mm.
I guess just knowing that is enough. Like, there's no way that I could ever follow back a path of a person's existence to the core of why everything in their life is the way that it is. So rather than trying to do that, instead I can just say, I can just know that fact. I can't know the totality of a person's life, so all I can do is support them where they're at. And if that means that we can't be together because of a certain idiosyncrasy or whatever, then that's okay. But I can still release with love the attachment, and I don't have to judge them based on where they're at.
I feel like, yes, because and so you're in that more routine of just seeing, this is them, this is their inner work, we can love and support them with this. I feel like when we're not in that level of routine, but when we're at that other level where we want to react to other people, if you still were in this, I'm going to react to stuff that comes at me, and then I'm going to trigger the situation by, adding more reaction and emotion to the scenario. If you could distract yourself for a little bit and think, why are they reacting like that? What can I create in my mind? Some tragedy that has happened to them, so that I can feel sorry for them. And then I'm going to come from a more open, empathic way.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever works to be able to create, to give you space to reflect and just hang on. Do I need to go at this with reaction, or do I need to just be supportive? I think it always comes down to a choice for each individual. To am I allowing the life force and the force of love to flow through me in this moment, or am I blocking in some way? And if I'm blocking in some way, why am I blocking? And just being aware of it that way. Like, am I supporting the situation, or am I making it worse?
Reacting with the same energy, if they're in fear or worry or those denser emotions, is never going to be that helpful, unless there is purpose for the triggering to. But I mean, ultimately, we want to keep our balance and support our friends and family. We've totally got off topic, but in terms of when those people come and want to talk about the laser event, which will be the ET attack, at some point, when you can have a conversation with your friends and family about what they think about death, and some people don't really know what they want to think about death because they don't want to think or talk about it. If we could somehow, through having mutual cups of tea, be able to share our own thoughts on what happens with life after death, it means that we're not engaging in a conversation about what they think, but it's about sharing how we feel and what we consider. And sometimes when our friends don't want to hear us, and they want to dismiss what we have to say, because it's hard conversations, because it's uncomfortable, if you know they're going to react in a certain way and shut it down, open up the conversation with, this is something I've been really considering, and I want to share this with you. It's an interesting topic. I just would love to be able to share with you and try and work out my own feelings with this. And you almost want to sort of like have an introduction of, I'm going to talk about something that's going on for me. I would love it if you could just hear me try to express this, because I'm trying to work out what's going on with me, and I would love to be heard with this. And it kind of it invites your friends to be able to be open to having just to listen, versus, and now tell me your opinion, prove it. How you can't prove reincarnation or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's the thing with opinions. There's not really any truth in them. They're just ideas based on perceptions. And do I need, do I want to come at this from a lens of I feel like I know more or I'm better than, or do I just want to open a conversation and let everyone express freely? Because there are people that probably do want to talk about this stuff, but don't feel that there's an appropriate platform to be able to do it without feeling like they're going to be judged or ridiculed. So I suppose in that sense, what you're saying is so right. It's how can I approach it in a way that I'm not creating any separation. It's just, let's just have a conversation and see where it goes.
yeah. The best thing when you're wanting to explore these conversations, you can start off by saying, yeah, I mean, who really knows? But I would love to be able to have a conversation with you about it, because then it invites opinions versus, having to then disclose proof and be responsible for the information, and talking about feelings and being heard. I mean, isn't it wonderful to have friends where you can talk about your feelings and them not to react to it or own them, but just hear you?
Absolutely. I feel that, well, I find that most of my conversations that I'm having at the moment in life are very much the same as the one we're having right now. We're just talking about how we perceive the way of the world and the way of our experiences and our emotions. And even, like I live in a town in Perth, which is a bit rural, and most of my friends are over 65. And it's interesting having those conversations with people who are a bit older than me, and how they're reacting in their own minds to the way the world is these days. And it's been interesting, especially to see how the organic change in the way that they talk. I mean, a year ago, the narrative was one way, and now it's another. I've noticed there's a lot more talk of etheric concepts and the idea of life after death and things like that, which they were never talking about before. So it's interesting to see how the narratives of people are changing as the world is changing.
Mm, yeah, it's exciting, because it is showing us that people are wanting change, and they are starting to stop and think and reach out and have these conversations. And nothing more scary than having a burning desire to reach out and talk to someone about our feelings and thoughts, and then not having someone open and receptive to be there to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Well, I love talking to you. Keep up the great work. I love how practical you are with your own personal responsibilities. Gold star to you. Yeah, I love how much you are honoring yourself and being of service to others, because I know you are, a really great pillar for many who are still trying to understand themselves. So congratulations for being, my favorite person today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's always good to be able to just put some thoughts out there and hopefully just inspire others to do a bit more thinking and feel that, and feel comfortable in having having their own expression, their own view, and knowing that it's perfectly okay to feel and have an experience. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And the more we do our inner work and the more empowering we are, and how much we know who we are, the more comfortable we are to hear about others, because it's not going to impact us or make us sway or confuse us. So I think that's why they're wanting us to do so much of our own inner work and empower ourselves,
yeah,
because, when you're strong within who you are, you're not trying to convince others or need, even respect from others, because you really, you're self-sufficient, and that's self-loving.
indeed.
Mm. Okay, well, take care, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.